Greetings and bienvenue, midnight crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Not mine but my sister's. Be my sister. Come home to my dad's house before anyone else. On the phone with my mom. We have a motion sensor bathroom light. The bathroom light is on. No pets or anything. Sort of creeped out, but probably explainable. Hang up. Get a call immediately from an unknown number. It's a recording of her talking to my mom. Only her side of the conversation, as if it was recorded in person. Nope's out of the house. Nothing was stolen or anything, but we've always had creepy shit happen, especially her. Another one. Before I was born, the older brother is a newborn, and they are moving into a new home. Both parents get a creepy feeling from the room that was supposed to be a nursery. Decide my brother shouldn't sleep in there, use it for storage instead. Sister in room adjacent, would always complain about a mean boy in her closet. Just an imaginary friend probably. When we moved out, we found a hole in her closet that was about big enough for a small child to crawl through from the spooky room.
Okay, mine's probably not spoopy enough because it isn't supernatural but still extremely nope. Be 26. Living with my wife and our 4-year-old daughter. Wife works late nights as an emergency room nurse. I work as a mental health nurse at the live-in wards. One night, my wife is at work. It's 11 p.m. and I am getting ready for bed. Hear a faint, thick but soft clunk from within the house, but brush it off. About 30 seconds later I hear slow, soft, crunching on our gravel driveway. I get up to investigate, knocking over my glass of wine. I hear rapid, light crunching on the gravel. Something runs away. Convince myself it was an animal or a doorbell ring and runner. We get a lot of teenagers doing it. Either way, they've been spooked off now. Clean up. Hear another sound similar to a clunk from the walls of the house. Decide to investigate, not in crisis mode or anything, just curious. Go to check faucets and windows and the like. Everything is normal. I go to check on my daughter. She's in her bed. Everything seems okay. I walk out. As I do, I notice the window is slightly ajar. There's normally a pile of bears and dolls in a messy kind of display near her toy box. I scan the room in the dark from the entrance. I almost shit my pants as I see a human face amongst the toys and dolls. Frozen in a smile. I'm not sure if they've seen me from this angle. I don't want to traumatize my kid, so I calmly walk in and say, "Okay, toilet time," and pick her up. I leave the door open and sit at the end of the passage with my kid sleeping in my lap, watching the pile for movement. Call the cops. Whisper the details. They come. They knock on the door. It's open. Come in. Finally, movement in the pile. I see someone poke out their head and look directly at me. They lean back and I hear a long mournful moan. The police arrest him. He was an inpatient. I'd never met him. Security footage showed he'd been following me around the ward for weeks, but hiding when I'd walk by. He'd done some nasty stuff with kids.
Be 18-year-old girl working at a veterinarian. Vet assistant. Kennel working, etc. Small practice. Vet lives right behind the clinic, a house about 50 feet from the rearmost door. 2 other buildings, both kennels, behind the office as well. One weekend the vet goes to an out-of-state conference. Only open for prescription pickup, boarding. 2 other girls, younger than me, are closing and cleaning. Getting ready to close for the night. Just finished checking on all the dogs in the kennel out back. Come inside, lock the door, start sweeping the floor in the clinic and checking on cats. Right when I turned off the light and walked off, the doorknob jerked. Hear someone throwing their body against the door. Rush to the front of the clinic. Can't find my coworkers. Hear something. Turn to see both of them cowering under an exam table the furthest from any windows. One was crying. From the front I heard the doorknob being fiddled with in the same way as the back door. Someone walked past the window I was standing near, activating the motion light. Nope. Go to the ground and start crawling for the phone. No dial tone. They cut the fucking phone lines. Only one with a cell phone at the time for some reason. Guess in 2006 less kids had phones. Crawl all the way to the break room to grab my phone. The whole time I hear windows and doors being messed with. Get a phone. Call a friend who lived less than a mile down the road, closer than the cops. Then called the cops. Then I called my dad. Crawled back to surgery, felt fucking stupid. Grabbed some packaged scalpels because didn't know what else besides the flashlight could be used as a weapon. 2 minutes passed, longest of my life. Hear the window on the rearmost door, the one I locked, break, footsteps. Fuck. Headlights at the front, 2 pairs. Footsteps retreat. Friend calls me, he's here with his brother and father. Culprits vanished. Police said there were up to 6 people. Figured out what they wanted at another nope time. Note the vet is in a very rural area. Subsequent weeks we found scratches at the door, locks damaged or fiddled with. Her personal dogs were upset a lot, getting hot spots from stress. It was autumn, not the time of year for it. Come in some mornings to a completely silent kennel, which is odd. Vet installs a gate to the parking lot so people can't drive in during off hours. Keypad entry. Installs security system. On Thanksgiving weekend, vet goes to visit the family. Kennel manager goes to visit family. I get paid a shitload to stay in town with one other coworker to take care of pets clients boarded for holiday. No pickup or drop-off Thursday and Friday. First one there at 7 a.m. Turkey Day slow down to turn into a parking lot. Car is parked on the side of the road, a nice mid-sized sedan. Behind, an SUV, figure, hooded, dressed in all black is bent over pushing buttons on the gate keypad. Hands gloved. I slow down to about 15 miles per hour, blinker still on. Window lowers in the SUV, see hooded figure with black handkerchief around the lower half of his face, upper half covered with hood. Guy at the keypad stands up, starts running to my vehicle. Nope. Pass on by. Goddamn SUV pulls off the side of the road, then speeds up to behind me. In the rearview mirror I see the guy hop in the sedan and pull out in the road after the SUV. Gunning it now. Call a coworker. Tell her to meet me at the gas station closest to the vet, 5 miles away. SUV pulls into the opposite, left lane, as if to pass me. No fuck that. Speed up, then slam on brakes at a turn, almost flip. SUV misses turn, sedan doesn't. Calling my dad now. Pass gas station because it's empty, closed for Thanksgiving. Finally get to the neighborhood, turn in there, turn into the driveway with cars. Sedan slows, but passes. Too young and too stupid to take plate number. Dad and coworker met me back at work. They had cut the phone lines. Again, Dad stays at the front desk with both a handgun and shotgun for the 2 days I work. Nothing happens for 3 months, not even the scratches or footprints. Get called right before I go into school. Vet had gone to a house call in the morning with the only staff member there. Secretary comes in to find the door ajar. Things are not vandalized, not really like they were searching for anything. Other weird stuff. Computers had been broken open and hard drives stolen. Portable hard drives stolen. Main phone was stolen. Not monitors or the case or anything like that. Aha! Vet was smart. Refilled empty vials of narcotics with saline or colored saline. placed them in a flimsy lock box with other drugs. Took narcotics and locked them inside a safe in her house every night. Dummy narcotics were stolen. Up security, request cops to make 2 drive-up inspections a night. Fingerprint entry shit, going all out. Vet even has 2 guns there now and teaches us how to use them. I thought I wanted to be a vet, so the vet took me to an orientation for prospective students at the university she went to. We stay out of town for 3 days. On the evening of the second day, both get called by the 2 workers closing the practice that day. Co-worker is hysterical on the other end. Can hear banging, clanging, and all sorts of noise on her end. Call my good friend yet again, who again comes to the rescue. 2 days later, finally home from orientation, I get a call from the secretary. The entire place was gutted and vandalized. The single cat that had stayed there overnight had its neck broken. One of the vet's dogs was beaten to death and mutilated. Took a while for her other 2 dogs to stop trembling, strange for blue Gilas. Nothing ever happened after that. To the police's knowledge, it was a large organized drug gang that was raiding any rural physicians for any kinds of narcotics, especially vets for ketamine. The first 2 incidents were likely burglaries. The time the animals were killed and property damage was in revenge for the dummy box.
On holiday in Tuscany. Sat on the patio dining table at night talking by the light of candle and moon. One by one we begin to register the sound of feasting in the darkness a few meters from the villa. Stop talking and listen. Literally sounds like an animal is gorging itself on a fresh kill. The sound of flesh being ripped and bones snapping and slurping and generally like chewing really loud on a blue steak. Get the torch to go and investigate in the darkness. As we approach the sound it gets louder and really close. There is a fence around the property separating the garden, house and pool from the open countryside. Noise is definitely closer than the fence. All of a sudden as we're getting close we hear a loud aggressive grunting snorting noise a few feet away. Literally sprint back into the house and behind the sliding glass door. Turn all outside and inside lights on now actually fearing for our safety. After a few minutes we venture out again with more powerful torches and armed with kitchen knives and hatchets. Past the place where the sound came from but see no tracks, not that we're trackers or that we were leaving any visible tracks on the hard ground. Still constantly hearing snuffling and movement. Cat walking near us apparently curious too hissing and not leaving the light of our torches. We reach the fence and slightly trampled, not ripped apart like we expected because this is a big animal from the sound of it, they clearly jumped the fence with ease. We can go no further but look out into the darkness of pointing our torches and listening. Swear we can see shapes moving about in the fields about 100 feet away. Maybe a pack of wolves, or we think wild boar from the sound of the pig grunt snort. Thought boar were herbivorous, but these things were definitely ripping some deer or something limb from limb. In the morning we go looking expecting to find a trail of blood where something was dragged or a carcass, or even a few drops of blood, but we can't see anything.
1978, 6 years old. Come home from school and Dad tells me my dog Skipper bit him, so he kicked her and she ran away. Dad was always a liar and a violent drunk, so I don't believe him. 2 years later Dad got drunk and fell asleep smoking. Wake up to a house full of smoke. Can't see, smoke is burning my lungs. Feel my dog Skipper's muzzle in my hand. She leads me outside. Smoke billows around us so thickly I can't see her or the house. Skipper licks my hand then runs back inside. The firemen arrive as I fall back into the smoldering grass outside of my ruined house. Pass out. When I awake the police tell me my father passed away in the fire. A particularly confused officer asked me why my dad kept the bones of a dog with him in bed.
New Year's Eve. Me and 2 friends go to a large football field that has a forest on the other side. Drinking beer and shooting fireworks. Pretty close to midnight. Rockets light up the woods every now and then. See lots of human figures in the woods. Slight panic, tell my friends. Can't see anything. Clock is really close to midnight and the sky is lit up. At least 30 figures at the edge of the forest walking towards us. Friends see them too now. Really bad vibes because they're not even looking to the sky, just walking towards us in this huge line. Fuck it, grab our shit and run about 2 kilometers back to my house. Spent rest of the night with everyone having a kitchen knife close by. It was probably nothing, just people gathering around to see the fireworks better or something, but I ain't arguing with my gut feeling when it tells me to get the fuck out of somewhere.
Not ridiculous, but actually real. Get really drunk at a party. The beginning of winter, so it's pretty cold, but not cold enough for snow. I realize I'm making a fool of myself, so I decide to leave before everyone thinks I'm a complete ass. It starts pouring rain as I'm walking, bus is no longer running at that time and I'm cheap, so cab's a no-go. Some anon aged 30 or so sees me and offers a ride.
It's way too cold and wet, man. Come on, I'll give you a ride.
Never hitchhiked before and parents always made a big fuss about how dangerous it is. Figure WTF, let's get out of the rain. He seems like a nice guy, we chat for a bit and I tell him where to go. This area was basically the last major street in the city. If you turn left it becomes countryside, turn right you head toward the heart of the city. Buddy turns left when I tell him to go right. Ugh, man, this is the wrong way. Don't worry, I know a shortcut, he says. I become really nervous and ask how this could possibly be a shortcut. My house is like 3 blocks to the right, and you're going the opposite direction. He says.
I've lived here my whole life. I know all the secrets.
What did he mean by this? He slowly starts picking up speed, like as if doing it incognito. But no, I noticed the gentleman is going like 50 kilometers over the speed limit. Up until this point I was trying to be polite so as to not offend the guy, as it was likely just me misunderstanding or something. But now all good manners are out the window. Demand he immediately stops. He completely ignores me. We get to the very last stop light in the city. Technically out of the city now, but you can still see the building about a km away. The lights turn red even though it's practically always green when headed that direction. Before he even comes to a full stop I bail, full sprint into a tree line about 50 meters away. I stop and he calls out to me for a while and I'm hiding from in the bushes. After about 5 minutes of him calling out trying to coax me out of the bushes, another driver stops to see if Buddy needs help. I can't make out what his response was, but it seemed to spook him as left. At this point I'm too scared to leave. Is he waiting for me? Did he just pull up a few hundred feet and sitting watching? It's cold as hell and raining. I'm shivering. Call my older brother and tell him to get me. I give him ATLD, our version of what went down, in a whisper. Oh, the guy can't hear me if he was still around. He doesn't believe me, thinks I'm fucking with him. Parents were out of town for the weekend, and I didn't want to call the cops as I was drinking underage and had some pot on me, and I was just generally young and stupid. Keep calling my brother and it takes me 4 calls before he actually believes me. About a half hour later I see my brother pull into some dive-ass car garage more or less across the street from me. He brought 2 of his mates with him and they open the trunk and pull out a couple of baseball bats and an axe. At this point I'm still scared shitless and don't want to move. I could see them, but they were up the road quite a way and I was worried the other guy may have been closer and nabbed me. Then I decided to full-on sprint to my brother. I get in the car and my brother makes a point of weaving around the city to make sure we were not being tailed by the guy. When my parents got back they more or less called us idiots for not calling the police and forced me to go down there and give a statement. When they asked why I waited so long to contact them, I told them the truth and they were like,
Jesus Christ, kid, you could have gotten yourself killed over pot and booze.
Not ghostly spoopy, but nonetheless still crazy. I am 22. Living in a 3-story apartment for about 1.5 years. Have alcohol neighbors that always fight when completely smashed. Honestly don't know how they didn't get kicked out for noise complaints of them arguing. Saturday night. Hungover from the night before, so just chill out playing video. About 1 AM they start yelling, "Oh boy, here we go. The same old shit, fuck you, asshole, you're cheating on me, I'll fucking kill you, blah blah." Plug earphones in and start up some data. Turn it up to drown their misery out. First game is over and I go to the washroom. Quiet, good, they passed out or the BF left again. Shortly after I hear sirens blasting, not odd cause, shitty end of town. Closer and closer, in the parking lot now. Ambulance and cops. Looking outside, checking out what's going on. Hear knocking on the door beside mine, oh shit. Look out peephole, cops and paramedics outside neighbor's door. I keep watching for a while. Eventually they wheel the Jerry or whatever out of the apartment, blood-soaked and covered body. Before that the chick was taken with handcuffs on. The police eventually knocked on the door asking if I heard anything. Explained that I put headphones on every time they start arguing as it's fucking annoying to listen to. The next day I was talking to another neighbor beside that apartment. Tells me he heard them getting really into it, screaming and stuff smashing, and then it just went dead quiet and then more screaming, but the crying kind of scream. Buddy called 911 and said his neighbors were arguing and thought something might have happened and might need an ambulance. Chick finally snapped and killed her BF. They were in their early 30s too, probably druggies as well. Still don't know how she did it.
Moved into a new apartment with my GF. It's nice, cheap enough and pretty much okay. Except that it's in the ghetto part of my town, if you could even call it that. Lots of Turks, Arabs and Asians around, but they normally don't cause any trouble, it's okay. Above my apartment there lives a Russian mother with 3 kids though. I fucking hate kids. They are always screaming and shouting and screeching, running around the staircase and stuff. You always hear their footsteps because they can't seem to walk like normal people. How the fuck am I supposed to write shit here, fucking brats? One evening, be home alone. Didn't hear the brats for quite a while before. Suddenly blood-curdling screams from somewhere in the house. Geez, kids are getting at it again. Again, screeching, now louder. Whatever, I'll get me a coffee. Just as I walk through the small corridor to my kitchen I hear the scream again. Right in front of my fucking apartment door. At that time I got rather pissed, because it would not be the first time for these little shits to yell right in front of the door. Suddenly I hear scratching on my door. Loud as ever, starting to get uncomfortable. Sound stop. But I hear no footsteps or anything. Notice that I didn't hear footsteps all the time outside. What the shit? Silence. After a minute I decide to have a look and to seriously kick someone's as if I've been messed with. Open the door, of course nobody is there. Well, that was weird. Grab coffee. Next day GF returns. Asks me if I had been enjoying the new peace and quiet. Quiet my ass, brats fucked with me last night. GF looks at me like I'm an idiot.
Anon, the whole family moved out, like last week or so.
What? Go upstairs, the flat there is empty. Ask neighbor, it's true, they moved across the country, no one has seen them again since. Nobody heard the sounds last night.
So, this happened about 2 years ago. I was helping my friend and his family move from inner city Cleveland to a nice small remote place in southern Ohio. His family were the typical God bless America, gun-loving family. His dad wanting to move since my friend was leaving for college with me. Anyways, we load up the U-Haul truck and I load my car up with my friend's stuff. We hit the road and it's like any other drive. We talked about college, passed a blunt back and forth. After an hour and a half drive, we finally got to this place. It was a nice suburban home that was in a remote part of the woods with a long driveway. Very nice place. His parents didn't come down as they had to stay back to finalize the selling of their old house. So we unload some of his stuff into his new room. After unloading, we decided to check out the house. Everything looked brand new and clean. Then we decided to check out the basement. The door was a fresh, painted white door. But once you opened it, the basement looked really abandoned. Like as if someone burned the basement and put holes in the walls. The steps were very creepy as they made a loud crackling noise when walking. We got down to the basement, and what's creepy is that it was silent. Even with the window open and birds chirping, it was dead silent. We looked around this basement and a bunch of newspapers were scattered around. Like if someone had a pet down there to go to the bathroom. The weird thing that bothered me is that there was a pole structure in the middle of the basement. Kinda like a support beam. And it had weird carvings of dates. Like one of the carvings said December 13th, 44, and there were more dates. At the bottom of the pole said July 16th, 15. Which was the same day we were moving all my friends' shit into his house. We noped the fuck out of there being pussies. And drove to Denny's and waited for his parents to get there. We still wonder what the date meant. I'm gonna try to go back there soon and maybe see if I can come up with an idea.
These two aren't so much as spoopy, but I thought I'd share for the sake of it. When I was age 0 to 12, I lived in a very old house. 12-foot ceilings and whatnot. My parents were never together, it was just my dear old mum and I living in this place. Nothing bad happened there, though there were two ghosts in the house, Esmeralda and Leonard. They weren't malevolent, nothing bad happened. I saw them a few times but not often, and when I did, I was never afraid. I felt totally comfortable in their presence. They never directly interacted with us. Notably, if we cooked popcorn, the house would smell of it for days. The place had great ventilation. If they did, it was say, if a chair wasn't pushed into the table, it would be when we returned. If the fridge was left open, it would be closed. If the food in the oven was starting to burn, it would turn off. If the bath was on for too long, it would turn off. Saved my life as a toddler. Stuff like that. The old neighbor told my mother that when she was a girl, the oldish couple next door were in a house fire and died in their sleep. Shame I haven't been there in 15 plus years. Ghost 2. When I was little, I would visit my mother's mother, at her house, which was a 10-minute drive away. It is very hot in Australia most of the time, so she often wouldn't sleep in the house, instead in a caravan that hadn't left the backyard in years prior to my birth. Let me try to describe my nan's, now my, property. The front yard and house are irrelevant for this story. The back door led to the decking. Directly in front of the back door was the caravan attached to the deck by a small bridge. The other side of the decking led to a circular pool. In the middle of the decking was a ramp which led onto a concrete path that curved around the pool. In between the pool and the path was about 1 to 2 meters of trees plants. Now back on track. When I was visiting my nan, sometimes I would sleep on a double bed with her in the caravan. Laying on the window side, overlooking the path pool at about 1 to 2 a.m. because I woke up suddenly. As I'm laying there, I gaze outside the window and I see a pale white woman in a long wedding dress walking up the path slowly. She's wearing a rose crown thing on her head and she looks happy. I say, "Hello," being a dumbass and intrigued kid. She doesn't say anything, but my nan says,
"Don't worry about her, she's friendly. She's done this every morning for a long time. I don't think she can hear us and she will just walk through you if you touch her. Go back to bed, dear."
Those words are ingrained in my head. Shame. I haven't seen her in a long time.
Been doing long distance with my girlfriend since I left for uni. Before anyone says, long distance GFS always cheat. If I didn't trust her, I wouldn't be with her. In other words, I'm an idiot, but without confirmation, I don't care that I'm an idiot. Driving to uni took 4 days, so when I went home over Christmas break, I just flew. Flight was on Christmas Eve. Left car in the airport parking lot near the exit. Distinctly remember double checking that it was locked. Got on the plane, waited, got off the plane. Dad picked me up from the airport. One of the first things he told me was that my cat died just the day before. Not ex-related, she was older than me and had cancer. But I'm bummed about it, so I'm including it. Caught up with my dad for a bit, then went to GF's place. Watched Sound of Music with her family, their Christmas tradition, also incidentally my favorite musical on film. Everyone else went to bed. We fell asleep in each other's arms in the basement. Wake up at 3 a.m. and her dog is going crazy upstairs. Carefully sneak out from under her and go check it out. Get upstairs just as her dad was also walking out to check on the dog. Asks why I was still there. Said I fell asleep. He just shrugs. Back to the dog. She's barking out the front window. There were some deer out front, and figured she was just barking at them. Something was off about them though. It looked like they were just frozen in time. One doe starts moving her head around, but it seems like the rest of her body can't move. See pure terror and pain in her eyes for a few seconds, then she starts bleeding out of her nose and mouth, then drops dead. GF's dad, GF's dog, and I just watched in awe. Even the dog had stopped barking. She was just staring like there was nothing left she could do. Part confusion, part fear, part resignation. No idea to this day why I had the gall to go outside, but I took the dog outside and had a look. Deer carcass was already rotten and bloated after like a minute. The words, "I will always laugh," were carved into its side with a knife. Defuck.gif. Nope. Outta there. Asked GF's dad about the deer carcass 2 or 3 days later. He said it was gone when he woke up and he didn't want to bother freaking out his wife and daughters, so he never told them. Flew back to my current city a few days later. As I stepped out of the airport, I saw that my car had moved to the opposite end of the parking lot. Instead of by the exit where I had left it, it was parked across the 2 spaces furthest from it. Doors were still locked. Unlocked them and was stench blasted by the foulest odor of all time. It was like a mixture of death, sulfur, and vomit. Plugged nose, squinted eyes, leaned into the car. See a note taped to the gear stick. Pull it off, get back out of the car, and read it. I will always laugh. No pet out, called a cab. Reported incident. At least the airport gave me free parking since someone had interfered with my car on their watch. A few days later I got a call saying they had reviewed their security footage. They said my car never showed up on their cameras. I had parked it in one blind spot, and it had somehow moved diagonally across the fenced parking lot to the only other blind spot without being seen. No pet out again, sold the car that same day.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.